Pretty much. I think I'm as ready as I'm gonna be.
Yeah. So um, we're just going to kind of run over some of the questions that, at least my plan was to just run over questions that you know you're more than likely going to be asked in your interview. um, and then I also really wanted to go over minimums. Um, that was the one feedback that I got consistently from Greg over the last couple classes, is that we could definitely be stronger on minimums and getting alternate minimums, all of that. So that was kind of my plan. I don't know, Adam, if you have anything that you want to add to that, or
No, just go ahead and run through your thing, and then I'll add in anything at the end that, based on my recent conversations with Bill.
okay. So a lot of the questions that you guys are going to be asked, you were asked in the practical during the oral portion of the test. As far as reading PIREP, reading them, NOTAM, um, all the FAR stuff. Um, so let's talk about the FARs really quick. Um, the FARs that you're probably going to have asked to you are going to be the basic ones that everyone gets asked. So, what are the sole responsibilities of a dispatcher? And they want to hear. I talked to several of you in my last class about being precise, being able to just spout it off. So, um, using the correct verbiage is going to be pretty important. So, you know, um, so if you were asked that question, walk in, go, monitor the progress of each flight, issue any information pertaining to the safety of the flight, and cancel or redispatch. Um, and then they usually follow up. What are the three that the pilot in command and the dispatcher share responsibility for? So pre-flight planning, delay, and dispatch, release. You know, be quick, be snappy, be confident in your answers. um, let's see here. Um, they're going to ask you. Um,
Hey, are you recording by chance?
I am.
Okay, my thing doesn't show it on my iPad.
Yeah, it's recording right now. Let's see. I've got to think about these things before. So they're going to ask you, what is the definition of operational control? Uh, if you guys want to spout out answers, that's awesome. This whole session is definitely going to be more discussion based. Uh, so
initiating, conducting, and terminating the flight.
Yep. The exercise of authority over initiating, conducting, and terminating flight. Okay. When does a flight require an alternate to be listed on the dispatch release?
should be every time unless the 1, 2, 3 rule applies.
Okay. And the 1, 2, 3. Always finish with what the 1, 2, 3 rule is.
Which is 1 hour before and 1 hour after ETA. You have 2,000 foot ceilings and 3 statute miles of visibility.
Good. Okay. What are the 5 things required to be on the dispatch release? Go for it, Eric.
Departure, destination, intermediate, alternate, type of flight, IFR, VFR, minimum fuel, tail number, and flight number.
Okay.
And the weather attached.
Yeah, the weather's attached. Okay. Let's see, what 3 parameters must your takeoff alternate meet in order to be legal on the dispatch release? Tyrell?
It needs to be within 1 hour of the departing airport at normal cruising altitude with 1 engine inoperative.
Normal cruise speed. So you can just say normal cruise, and that'll suffice. So within 1 hour of the departure airport at normal cruise with 1 engine in still air, right? Don't forget that part. So normal cruise in still air with 1 engine in op. Okay. What 4 factors do we consider when computing fuel? Michelle? You there? Oh.
Sorry. Weather and wind. Anything that would delay the landing of the flight. And missed approach procedures. And I can't remember the last one.
So wind and weather, anticipated traffic delays, an approach and possible missed approach at the destination, and any other reason that may delay the landing of the flight. So the acronym we use to remember that, everybody remember, is WAN, right? Pilot calls up and starts crying about the fuel, WAN. That's how we remember it. All right. So what requirements what are the fuel requirements for a flight under domestic operations? Andrea, do you remember? Or Ash? Anyone? Jeff?
Are you talking to me? Am I not on?
We couldn't hear you if you were talking.
I don't think I was on.
Oh, okay. So, what are
you want?
what are the fuel requirements for a flight under domestic operations?
You want the fuel requirements off the top of my head right now.
So the acronym is BAR. That remembers, but there's an actual saying. the actual verbiage from the FAR.
So bar H,
Yes, bar H.
burn, alternate, hold, and reserve fuel.
Okay, but the actual FAR, how is the FAR written out?
Are you wanting the
To the furthest.
is that what you're wanting?
Yeah, so
It's enough to make it to the destination, then enough to make it to the furthest alternate, then 45 minutes normal cruising.
yeah.
Still air.
Nope, the still air's in
At normal cruise.
now the still air's for our takeoff.
Just normal one.
So
Okay.
this one is just the verbiage is just normal cruise at normal cruise.
Okay.
They're going to be looking for the verbiage thereafter too.
They're not as picky about that. Just make sure that when you're saying it, you say something like enough to make it to the destination, then or thereafter to the furthest alternate, then 45 minutes at normal cruise. Something like that, that'll work. Just know that they want to make sure that you know that it's in addition to the previous statement. So it's not a gelatinous mass. It's like separated, if that makes sense. So yeah. So let's talk about high min's pilot, high min's captain. So what do we have to do if we have a high min's captain?
Add 100 to the ceiling and half mile to the visibility.
Good. All right. So those are the FAR questions that they're going to ask, and that's pretty much standard across every interview you'll ever have. Speaking of which, SkyWest isn't the only airline that's hiring right now. I recommend if you meet the qualifications, Southwest is also hiring as well. So put in for them as well. Even though you're fresh out of dispatch school, that's okay. All right. Okay, so I've got a whole bunch of NOTAMs for you guys. And we've got enough here to keep everybody entertained. So let's take a look at Seattle here. So Seattle, I want, let's just start at the top of the list. What was that?
Can you make it a little bigger?
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're good. No worries.
Oh, that's plenty.
Let me, I actually need to zoom out just a hair here. Okay. Can you see that good?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's. My face isn't up against the screen now.
All right, so let's start at the top there, Andrea, and just the one that I have highlighted.
Okay, it's the 242nd NOTAM of June, Seattle. Again, it's this 242nd of June. Seattle runway 16 right, 34 left, closed daily between 0600 and 1200. This went into effect on June 25th of 18 at 0600 and is in effect from June 29th of 2018 till noon or 12.
Okay, Good. All right. Let's see, Ash, if you want to take a stab at that one. Or Eric, whoever jumps on first.
I can do it. The 232nd NOTAM of June for Seattle. Nav ILS runway 16R out of service daily from 0600 to 1200. Isn't it the same? Am I just reading the time again? It says daily from 0600 to 1200. And then.
Yeah, but the dates are, it's got a date range.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true. June 25th, 2018, 0600 to June 29th, 1200.
Good. All right. Let's see if I can find some fun ones here. All right, Jeff.
This is the 90th NOTAM in June for Syracuse runway 28 FICON. Is that I'm guessing here? This is 500, 500, and 500.
Nope. So 5.5
touchdown mid.
That's the braking action is what we call that. So
okay.
Build conditions depending on what type of contaminant is on the runway. They rate the braking action. So wet, we see 5s. Ice. If it's just straight up ice, then it's probably going to be a 0 or a 1, right? So, which means no braking action. You're not going to stop. So.
Are those at the touchdown midpoint and end of the runway? Is that what those represent? The 555?
Yep.
Okay, so different points on the field.
Yep.
Runway. Okay, 100% wet observed at. That would be June 24th at 1855 Zulu. And it looks like we've got our date range again, June 24th, 1855 Zulu to the 625 at 1855 Zulu.
Good. So yeah, we didn't spend too much time on field conditions, but we did talk about that a little bit. So yeah, they just rate per contaminant, how well the brakes are going, how well they're going to be able to stop. So 5s with wet, it's going to extend it out a little bit, but it's not going to be too bad. But when you start getting like snow, standing water, dry snow, or compacted snow, they categorize it. It's going to change how well the aircraft's going to be able to stop. So that's what those field conditions or FICONs are. So.
Garrett.
Yeah.
What's the numerical range? Is that like on a scale of 1 to 10 and 5 being 50% braking action?
So it's
what's the range?
It's 0 to 6. So 6 is dry. 5 is wet. 4 is man, I need to look at the actual rating system. Let's see, 4 is more than, what is it, 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch? I can't remember. But then you got dry snow, compacted snow. No, it's 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch dry snow would be like 4s. And then compacted snow is going to be your 3s. And then you can have like dry snow on compacted snow, which is going to be like a 2. Then you're going to have ice and standing water. The standing water's going to vary a little bit, but then ice is like a 1 or a 0. So if it's a 1 or a 0, basically they shut down the runway and it's not safe to land anymore.
Thank you.
So yeah. All right, let's see. Carrie, why don't you take a stab at that one?
Let's see. This is the 46th NOTAM in June for, I'm assuming, is this Santa Ana?
Close.
I don't.
Howard.
It's Orange County.
Yeah, Orange County. But
Orange County?
yeah.
Okay.
So
So once again, Orange County, June 46th, NOTAM, Orange County, AD, I mean, being active duty, that's what I think it means, but I don't believe that that's what it is.
So
active duty airport's closed. No, I don't know.
Yeah, so aerodrome or airport. AD is aerodrome, AP is airport. So
Oh, that's AP. Okay, I don't have my glasses on. Looks
well,
like an
there's
F.
an AD and an AP. So
All right. So air drone, airport closed, and then June 27th from 0600 Zulu till June 27th, 1315 Zulu.
good.
18.
Yep. So these aerodrome or airport closed. You know, you don't want to be sending airplanes into a closed airport. That's kind of a bad deal. So
Isn't that daily for Orange County? Are they doing that?
a lot of the California cities do that for noise abatement. So yeah, I think like Long Beach has it. You'll even see it in places like Grand Junction. Well, no, Grand Junction, the tower just closes. I don't know. A lot of airports in cities, if they're not a major hub, will close down from like 11 o'clock at night till 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So.
Is this piece published on the Google Docs for us to be able to access and practice?
This one is not. I just pulled this up out of WSI. So.
Oh, okay.
Michelle, why don't you take a look at that one?
Okay, so it's the 362nd NOTAM of May. Is that Pittsburgh?
Mm-hmm.
The ILS on runway 10 left. Does that mean not maintained?
Yeah. So the IM stands for, remember, we don't use them anymore.
I don't know.
Inner marker.
Not maintained from May 25th, 2018, from 1822 to September 25th, 2018, 20 Zulu. No, Eastern.
Nope. Not Eastern.
Zulu.
Nope. Well, it's Zulu. All times in Zulu. But what does that EST at the end mean?
I don't know that either.
Estimated.
Oh, estimated.
Yep. So whenever we see that EST, that's always an estimation. So, yeah. Let's see, Rex. Go ahead with that one.
Okay, this is 191st NOTAM for June for Buffalo. Let's see. SVC, severe microburst. I'm trying to remember what SVC is. I'm sorry. Was weather. Excuse me. That weather system detection. Weather detection system not available. 6/25, 2018 from 1200 Zulu to same day 20 Zulu.
Okay, good. So it's the SVC is service, so microburst service. The WS is wind shear detection system. So it's the microburst wind shear detection system is not available. So it's a little harder. We haven't really looked at that one, but yeah, remember the accident that we talked about with the L1011 Delta down in Dallas that landed short of the runway because of the wind shear? That wind shear detection system is the direct result of that accident. So. And Tyrell, why don't you finish us off here?
All right, so this is the 61st NOTAM in June for Portland. Runway 28 left, the ALS out of service from June 19th, 2018 at 1937 Zulu through June 29th at 2300 Zulu.
Okay, so what does ALS stand for? Anybody?
Approach lights.
Approach light system.
Good. So the approach light system. So, anybody, what happens to our minimums if the approach light system is out of service? What does that mean to us?
Increase the minimum.
Increase the minimums? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
We move over on the box to the next section. It says one Nav 8 out or the ALS out.
What was that?
On the approach plate for the airport, if it's out, there's another minimum that's indicated on the
Yeah.
plate.
Exactly. So on the minimums, actually, let's pull up that runway there. So that was Portland runway. I had you read the 28 left, right?
Correct.
All right. So when we're looking at these charts, down here, who can tell me the minimums with the ALS out of service?
RVR is 40 3/4 of a mile.
What was that?
RVR is 40 3/4 of a mile.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what are,
300 and 300 feet.
yeah, so just 303/4, right? So yeah, when they ask for minimums, always just say like 303/4. The RVR, sure. But typically they just want to hear this in the feet and miles, statute miles of visibility. So, but yeah, let's say that the localizer is out of service. Who can get me minimums there? Let's just say the localizer goes out, says localizer out of service. What
Class
are
B.
Huh?
The Class B is 501 mile.
Where are you looking? Right here?
Yeah, if we're classification, if our classification is B, would be 457 rounded up to 500 feet and 1 mile.
Okay, this one's kind of a trick question. So that's if the glide slope's out and the ALS is out. What if the localizer is out?
Wouldn't that be the 500 foot and 1/2 mile?
Nope.
Cat B.
Nope. So if the localizer's out, that takes out the ILS, right? Because that's half of the ILS. Remember, precision and non-precision approaches. So a precision approach has both vertical and lateral guidance, correct? And a non-precision is just lateral, so left or right of the runway. So this localizer is, let's say that's out of service, it's not working. We no longer have the ability to get minimums because we're missing the most important part of any ILS or any instrument approach is that lateral guidance. If we don't have lateral guidance, then it's a visual approach at that point, right? Because we can really only use the vertical guidance, but in order to do that, we have to be able to see the runway. So yeah, if the localizer goes out of service, it shuts down the ILS. It shuts down any instrument approach to that runway that it's out on. Does that make sense? They won't ask you a question that hard in the interview, so don't be scared. But yeah, just remember that the precision and non-precision approach is there. So is an ILS a precision or non-precision approach? Anybody?
ILS is a precision approach.
Exactly. So yeah, if the glide slope goes out, that's why our minimums increase, is because now we're just going to basically a non-precision approach, right? So that's why our minimums increase. But we don't necessarily need that vertical guidance to shoot an instrument approach. Anyways, I'll get off that horse there. So let's take a look at some legal to go stuff. Well, first, actually, I'm going to have you guys read some METARs. So Tyrell, we'll start with you. Tyrell, why don't you read me that one?
All right, so this is in Akron on the 24th at 22:53 Zulu. Winds are coming from 190 degrees at 6 knots.
What does M always mean?
Minus 1/4 statute mile.
So make sense of that there.
So less than 1/4 of a statute mile visibility.
Good.
R is rain.
Nope. RA is rain.
Oh, RA is rain.
So look at what it's reporting there. Sorry, I gave you the hardest one right off the bat. So
that's all right.
So you've got a 1,200 and a 1,400 foot.
Yeah.
But what is that reporting on? Does that make sense?
So it's reporting on the...
What do we call that?
I want to say the cloud levels.
Not quite, but we have less than a 1/4 mile of visibility. This is talking about the visibility on the runway. So runway 24.
Runway 24.
RVRs.
Foot visibility with 1,400. I don't know.
So the RVR is reporting 1,200, varying to 1,400 foot visibility. So.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just the RVR value.
All right, gotcha.
And it will always, well, it usually reports when we start getting lower visibility here. Usually we see this RVR value. If it's available, we'll see an RVR value reported there.
Okay, perfect.
So keep going.
All right, and then fog, visibility. No, that's not. 200 feet for the EV.
So I'll help you with this one too. So what is define a ceiling for me?
EV is the lowest lately reported of broken, overcast, or vertical visibility. So vertical visibility of 200 feet.
Good.
17 degrees and 17 degrees dew point. The altimeter is 29.84. For the remarks, it does report for weather, sea level pressure is 10.3. And the temperature is 16.7 and dew point is 16.7.
So this AO2 represents that it has it's automated station with a precipitation discriminator. Does that make sense? So it can tell you if it's rain or snow or hail or what type of precipitation is falling. So you did good. And this just sea level pressure is 103. So did good. All right, Rex, why don't you take a look at Buffalo there for us?
Okay, Buffalo on the 24th at 2254 Zulu. Wind is from 360 at 6 knots, 10 statute miles visibility. Skies are broken at 1500, broken at 2000, overcast at 9000. Temperature is 19, dew point is 16. Altimeter is 29.93 with a discriminator. The sea level pressure is 132. Actual temp and dew point is 18.9 and 16.1.
Good.
And says it needs to be repaired.
Yeah, so maintenance.
Maintenance.
Good. All right, Michelle, just want to take a look at that one.
Okay, so it's the 24th day of the month, 2251 Zulu. I don't know what COR is.
So that's corrected.
Okay, corrected. Winds are coming from 350, 22 knots, gusting to 26 knots, 10 statute miles of visibility, few clouds at 2,600 feet, broken layer at 4,500 feet. Temperature is 23 degrees Celsius. Dew point is 17 degrees Celsius. The altimeter is 29.93. It has a precipitation discriminator. Peak winds are from 350 at 26 knots. Is that how you read it?
350 at 26 knots, yep.
And then from 224 at 9 knots?
Nope, so look at this and now look at this.
Oh, so is it between? Oh no, that was the last reported was at 2249.
So that's when that peak wind occurred, was 2249.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And then wind shift to that from 224 at 7 knots.
Nope. It's just like the previous one we just.
Oh, okay. So it was wind shift was reported at 2247.
Mm-hmm. So this PRESRR stands for pressure rapidly rising.
Okay, pressure rapidly rising, and then sea level pressure is 133. The temperature is 22.8, and the dew point is 16.7.
Yep. So yeah, just remember this is wind direction and velocity, and then this is the time. So one thing when I get stuck is I'll quickly glance up here in these METARs. I'll quickly look up here and I'll try to make sense of it, you know. Sometimes that helps, sometimes it doesn't. But with like temperature and dew point here on this T 16.7 in Nantucket, you know, things like that. That's when I'll look up here and I'll be like, oh yeah, there's the temperature right there, you know. So just some little tips, pro tips from Garrett. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it just confuses you. I don't know. Okay. Carrie, why don't you do that one?
Okay, so not sure where PIB's at.
Hattiesburg.
But, what's that?
Hattiesburg.
Hattiesburg. Okay.
Mississippi.
It's on the 24th at 2256 Zulu. This is a auto.
So automated.
Winds are coming in at 140 degrees at 6 knots, 10 statute miles, visibility. Skies are clear. Temperature is 33 degrees Celsius. Dew points 24. Altimeter reading is 29.907. Remarks are sea level pressure 146. The true temperature is 32.8, and true dew point is 24.4.
Okay. So Jeff, I'm going to give you a little tougher one. Those 10 and clears make it too easy on you guys.
All right, let's give it a shot. Looks like we got a specie for Syracuse on the 24th at 2246 Zulu. Winds 320 at 6 knots. Visibility 7 miles. Light drizzle, broken 700, broken 3000, overcast 3800. Temperature 18, dew point 18 with an altimeter at 2985. Let me read this one. Drizzle estimate. Let's see. Yeah. Boy, this is a hard one. So I can break it down. There's a reference to drizzle, but I'm not sure what the 16 before 6. Rain began 41 minutes after the hour, ended at 46 after the hour.
Okay, makes sense in the drizzle part now.
Makes sense of what? I'm sorry?
The drizzle part.
Ended at 16 after the hour.
And then?
And then began at 4? Is that what? Seems weird.
46 past the hour. So it had been raining prior to this, ended at 16 after the hour, and then began again at 46 past the hour.
46. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then it looks like total precipitation was negligible. Temperature 17.8 and dew point 17.8.
Good. Okay.
Thank you for your help.
So yeah, you had it there. This one, it's a little confusing because, you know, the ended's before the began, but
yeah, that threw me.
Yeah. Hold on, Liz just texted me. All right. Let's see, Eric.
All right. So it's a METAR for Syracuse, the 24th of the month at 22:54 Zulu. Winds at 310 and 6 knots. 6 statute mile visibility. Light drizzle. Oh, I know this. I don't remember.
So this one's missed.
Missed, yeah, that's right. Broken clouds at 700. Broken clouds at 3,300. Overcast at 5,000. Temperatures 18 degrees Celsius. Dew point is 18. Altimeter is 29.85. There's a precipitation discriminator. Drizzle ended at 16 after the hour, began at 46 after the hour. Rain began at 41 after the hour and ended at 46 after the hour. Sea level pressure is 105, and the precipitation is at 0.01. So 1/10, I think. No, one. Or is it 0.001?
No, 0.01.
0.01. And the temperature is 17.8, and the dew point is also 17.8.
Yep, good. Okay, and Andrea, this is fitting.
Why, thank you. For Portland on the 24th at 22:53 Zulu. Winds are out of the northwest at 6 knots, 10 statute miles. View at 25,031. Temperatures 31, dew point 12, altimeter 2980. The system is discriminating. Sea level pressure 092, temperatures 30.6 and 12.2 on the dew point.
Good. All righty. So yeah, just keep practicing. Everybody just keep practicing METARs. Y'all did pretty good today, but.
And they want to hear that on the AO2, you know that. They want to hear it's discriminating.
Yeah, make sure you're vocalizing that you know that the AO2 station has a precipitation discriminator, or it's a discriminating station, whatever verbiage sticks in your head, use that. But tell them that you know that it's precipitation discriminating, and an AO1 doesn't have the discriminator, so. So good. So let's go over some legal to go stuff. So I'm going to, let's see. We'll take a look at these charts or these TAFs, and then I will pull up any charts that you need. Well, I'll just walk you through this. So let's talk about minimums first. Okay, so what are our minimums? Our minimums for, this is Portland, the ILS into 2.8 right. What are our minimums for if we have the full ILS?
300 and a half.
300 and a half, okay? Now, category C, like the 700s, let's say the ALS and the glide slope go out. What are our minimums at that point?
601 3/4.
Good. So we come over to this side, glide slope out. This is our decision altitude and decision height. So 600, always round that up to the nearest 100. And then the ALS being out 1 3/4 miles. Okay. Let's go. Oops. Let's go to Nantucket. What the? Oh, I'm making that up. I know that's a. Oh, maybe we don't have the. There we go. All right, so let's look at this chart. Eric, what are my minimums for the full ILS with local altimeter setting?
Full ILS, and what about the altimeter setting?
With the local altimeter setting.
Okay. 200-foot ceiling and 3/4 mile visibility.
Yeah, so 200 and 3/4. Okay. What if we have to use the Hyannis altimeter setting? What does that do?
That would be 300-foot ceiling and 3/4 mile visibility.
Good. So you just switch it over to here. This tells you, kind of notates there's a difference between these two minimums, right? So 300-foot ceiling's 3/4 because we have the full ILS. Now let's say that, Jeff, let's say that the glide slope goes out and the ALS is out and we have to use the Hyannis altimeter setting. For a category C, what are our landing minimums at that point?
Not entirely confident with the answer, but we're looking at 500 feet and 1 1/4 mile.
Good. So we just come over to here, glide slopes out. We've got the Hyannis altimeter setting, right? So 500. And then we're category C and the ALS is out 1 1/4. Okay. Good. So using the full ILS here, landing minimums of 200 and 3/4 mile visibility at 0800 Zulu, would we be legal to dispatch the flight? You can see Nantucket's right here. Okay. Would we be legal at 0100 Zulu to dispatch?
No.
No. And why?
The statute miles. I'm already forgetting, but wasn't it? It was greater than a half, wasn't it? And the I can't remember. It's that.
There's the
3/4.
Yeah. So 3/4 mile visibility. Okay. And we've got we've only got a half mile visibility at that point. Do we care so much about the ceilings?
No.
We're looking at legal to go.
No.
No, we don't look at the ceilings. We're only looking at our visibility. Okay. So here's one thing that I've noticed with every single one of my classes is that we start mixing up legal to go, do I need an alternate, and then one nav aid, two nav aid, alternate minimums. Okay, now let's say that, using Jeff's minimums that he came up with of 500, 1.25. Oops. Let's see. Let's say that our ETA is now 1350 Zulu on the 25th. Are we legal to go at that point?
That's 1350.
Jeff?
No, we're not legal.
Okay, good. Once again, 1.25 mile visibility, we only have one, right? We're looking at this 25th at 1300 Zulu, 1350 Zulu. It's still before this 1400 Zulu, right? So just keep an eye out, know what line you're looking for, and go from there. Okay, let's say we have the full ILS again, and we're going to use, let's say our ETA is at 2100 Zulu. Do we require an alternate?
No.
So the 24th at 2100 Zulu.
Yes. No. No.
So what are requirements for an alternate? When are we required to list an alternate on the dispatch release?
Oh my gosh, I'm looking at the wrong one. 1 hour before, 1 hour after. Yeah.
Yeah. So
If you go to 2200, yeah. Right there.
yeah, and even on this line,
The 500, yeah.
that 500 automatically requires an alternate. Is there any line in this TAF that does not require an alternate?
No.
No, every single line requires an alternate, correct?
Yeah.
So here's one way to look at TAFs. Okay. Before you even know an ETA, look at the TAF. And in your head, go through and find out if there's a line that needs an alternate or if all of them require an alternate. Like if it does or doesn't, and what time periods need an alternate, what time periods don't. Sometimes that's a better way to approach it because your brain is now focused on what times do I now require an alternate, what times don't I. Does that make sense? It's just another way to approach a TAF. So you can approach it with just the ETA, figure out the hour before, hour after, what we call the ETA window, and then figure out, do I need an alternate or don't I? But, one of the quicker things for me is I always just pull it up and just see at what point do I require an alternate, sometimes that's faster for me. Sometimes I'm sitting too close to the problem that I blank out everything, So, you can see here that it's really easy to pick up that none of these lines will allow us to not list an alternate. Every one requires one. So kind of an easier way to look at it with this tab. Let's talk about Buffalo here. Is there any time period that doesn't require an alternate? What is the first ETA that you can see?
Mm-hmm.
0900.
There's a little bit better.
0300.
Okay, so now let's apply the 1, 2, 3 rule here. What is the first ETA that doesn't require an alternate?
0400.
0400. Right? Anything prior to 0400 will automatically require an alternate because our hour before will fall into this previous line, which is overcast 1200, right? So 359 and before all requires an alternate. Everything after doesn't require an alternate. Everything after 400 Zulu doesn't require an alternate. Kind of an easy way to look at it, right? I don't know. It is for me, but okay. Let's see. Let's do another. Okay, let's look at Orange County here. Okay. At what time do I require an alternate?
Oh, 200.
0200. Yep. Anything before, once again, doesn't require an alternate. Everything after does require an alternate. Is that making sense to everybody?
Could you explain that through?
Yeah. So when are we required to list an alternate on the dispatch release? I'll answer your question by asking you questions.
If 1 year before or after the ETA, the skies are 2,000 visibilities through 3 months.
Yeah, so 1 hour before or after the ETA, you have 2,000 foot ceilings and 3 miles of visibility or better, okay? So, that being said, what define a ceiling? We need to know these two things in order to make a decision here. So what is a ceiling?
Broken or overcast.
Broken, overcast, or vertical visibility, right? Sky condition.
Right.
Okay, so that being said, our 1 hour before, 1 hour after, if we know right here that this forecast now requires an alternate from 0, well, what I mean to say is this line right here, this 0300 line, the forecast is that we're going to have ceilings at 1,800 feet. Okay, so using the 1, 2, 3 rule, the 1 hour before, 1 hour after, we go back an hour to 0200 because 0200 would be the first time that requires an alternate due to that ceiling. because the 1 hour before, 1 hour after, if our ETA was 0200, the hour after falls into this line, does it not?
Yes.
So our 1 hour after 0300, overcast 18, we require an alternate. So that's how you look at it, is when's my first time that requires an alternate? When don't I require an alternate? Just depends on what the forecast looks like. So using Pittsburgh, let's see. Tyrell, what ETAs would require an alternate? From what time to what time?
From 4 o'clock Zulu to 1500 Zulu.
Pretty close. You're a minute off, but
Okay, 1501.
nope. Go backwards.
1459.
Yep. Okay. So remember that this time here, this 1400, this is that's like dead set 1400 Zulu. Take it as is, as you read it here. So starting at 1400 Zulu, it's 6 miles, greater than 6, and sky's clear, right? So
Yeah.
at 1359, it's going to be 6 miles, greater than 6, but broken 700. So our times that we require an alternate would be from 0400 Zulu all the way until that 1459. Starting at 1500, we no longer require an alternate to be listed. Okay, how does everybody feel about the do I require an alternate? How's everybody?
Pretty good.
That was helpful.
Anybody have any questions on that? All right, so now we're going to start talking about the 1 nav aid, 2 nav aid rule. Okay, so what is the 1 nav aid, 2 nav aid rule? Does anybody remember? Like what's
1 nav aid is adding 400 feet to the ceiling and a half mile to visibility. 2 nav aid is adding 200 feet to the ceiling and a half mile to visibility.
What was the 1 nav aid?
400 feet to the ceiling and 1 mile visibility.
Okay.
Visibility.
So that being said, how do we know if we have 2 nav aids or 1 nav aid?
You look at the charts.
Okay, yeah. So let's come in here to our chart viewer. Somebody name an airport.
Boise.
Okay, so K-Boy. It's literally as simple as this, guys.
And girls.
And girls. Sorry. All right. So what instrument approach plates do we have? What type of instrument approaches do we have?
That's ILS, some VORs, some RNAVs.
Good. We have
Is
3 out
that's
of
just
What was that?
as much as I can make out with the tiny letters.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
So
right.
we have 3 ILS. One's a Cat 2, Cat 3. So we really, for our purposes, we only have 2 ILS here and 2 VORs, right? We've got some RNAV approaches as well. But remember, when we're looking at minimums here, as far as our class was concerned, and as far as what they're going to ask you about, they'll probably just say, using the 1 NAVAID rule, what are your minimums to this? Okay. Using the 2 NAVAID rule, what is your minimums for this airport? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody understand that? So I'm going to show you guys what we're talking about here. So this is what it'll look like on the test even. Okay. Let's just say, well, let's do this. Let's answer these questions really quick, and then I'll just say using the 1 NAVAID rule, or I'll throw in the 2 NAVAID rule. So what are the lowest possible, and whoever gets it first, call it out. What are the lowest possible landing minimums published for runway 26 left, ceiling and viz? So lowest possible, that means everything's working.
200.5.
200.5.
Good, so 200.5. Okay, we're looking, hold on, get some pen out here. 200.5. This is the full, what we call full ILS, okay? All right, now what are the lowest landing minimums considering this NOTAM, okay? Ontario, 89th NOTAM of June, runway 26 left, the ALS is out of service.
$203.
203/4, right? ALS out, right? Okay, and finally, what are the lowest Cat C landing minimums with this NOTAM?
$501.5. 1/4. No.
Getting warmer.
GP is the same as GS, right?
Yeah, glide path, glide slope, same thing.
$503.
Yep, 503/4, okay? So the glide slopes out, right? So we come down here, this is lower than this, right? Go to category C. So if we know that this one's lower, right here, this line divides the 2 different ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we just have to go down to our category C here, and it's 3/4 less than 1 1/4. Yeah. So We're going to use those landing minimums right there. Okay. So I'm going to teach you guys a trick, especially when looking at these ILS or the ILS landing minimums. Okay. They're always going to be separate. So if you have the full ILS working, or if the glide slope's out, it's always going to be divided by those two things. Remember, if the question is the localizer out, then we can't get landing minimums off of that, right? But since this is glide slope, this GS is out, okay, they will always be separated by this hard black line all the way up to the top, okay? That makes sense? These landing minimums are separate. These landing minimums are separate. So whenever you see that big division, it's dividing it into categories, okay? Typically, the only thing that you guys are going to be asked to get landing minimums for are going to be full ILS or if the glide slope's out.
Define circle to land.
Define circle to land?
No, sometimes.
Yeah, but few and far between. And there's a shortcut that when you get to SkyWest, you learn the SkyWest circle to land minimums can be no lower than a certain amount. So anyways, going back to this. So ILS and glide slope, full ILS versus glide slope out, divided with this solid black line, okay? So that's the main thing that you guys are going to look for. Does it ask me if the glide slope's out or if it's full ILS, okay? And if it just says ILS, just assume that that's the full ILS, okay?
Garrett, what is the OTS after the glide path and glide slope?
What does OTS stand for? Anybody know?
Out of service.
Out of service. Okay. All right. So we've divided it into these two categories. Okay. Now, depending on the lights, okay, if a lighting system is out, it will be divided in that category by that. Okay. Once again, going over to the glide slope outside, there's no lights out, then there's the ALS is out. No lights out, ALS is out. Does that make sense? Okay. Categories are always going to be the top, A, next, B, third, C, and fourth, D. Okay. It's always going to be divided like that on these JEP charts. So, using category C, like we did, glide slopes out. We don't have bakes, right? This would be, and the ALS is out. So worst case scenario in that, 1 3/4 for our category C. Pretty simple. Okay. So first divided by this, do I have the full ILS, glide slope, and then do I have any lighting systems out? Okay. That's going to be the easiest way to look at these charts. Does that make sense with everybody, or am I getting a little too crazy there? Just start top to bottom, really. Does that make sense with everybody? I don't know. Nobody's talking. Okay. Now let's talk about applying one nav aid. So let's say that the glide slope is out. What are my minimums with bakes using the one nav aid rule for a Category D aircraft?
$900 feet and 1 3/4 mile.
Good. Well, oh yeah, you said 1 3/4, right?
Yeah.
Okay. My brain at first heard 1 1/4. I was like, wait a second. Okay. So glide slopes out. What are our minimums here?
400. Well, 500 plus the 400.
500. Okay. So 500, and then since it's 1 nav aid, we're adding the 400 feet to it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then here's my viz. I didn't say that the ALS or any lighting system was out, so we can assume that it's working, right? Here's our visibility for a Category D aircraft. So we add 1 mile to that, 400 to this. It gives us 500, 1 3/4. Okay. Now, Jeff, let's say that we don't have bakes. What are our minimums for a Category C aircraft with the ALS out using the 2 nav aid rule?
900 foot and 2 1/4. And I'm getting that from adding, is it 200 feet to the 700 without bakes, and then dropping down to Cat C 1 3/4, adding 1/2 mile. Is that correct?
That is
addition?
100% correct. So the glide slopes out without bakes, added 200 to that. The ALS was out, Category C, so he's using those minimums there, so 200 and 1/2 to that. So 700, add the 200, that gives us 900 foot. And then 1 3/4, add the 1/2 mile to that, gives us 2 1/4. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Okay, so that's how the questions are going to be asked on your interview. They're not going to ask you to actually go in and pull up the chart, and they'll have the chart in front of you, and they'll just assume that you know the 1 nav aid, 2 nav aid rule. Remember, 1 nav aid, 401, 2 nav aids, 200 and 1/2, right? So you're going to have to add those minimums onto there. Whatever they tell you, if you've got NOTAMs to read the NOTAM, apply the NOTAM first, and then get your minimums. Does that make sense? Okay, I am going to throw one more wrench into this problem. And I want to know, let's say that we're using the ILS and the center line lights are out. What are my minimums using the using the 1 nav aid rule with a high mins captain?
$702. No.
No, you were exactly right.
That was quick in my brain.
Yeah. So we add, what do we add first to this for the high mins?
The 100.
100 and 1/2.
And 1/2, I'm sorry.
Okay. Then we add the 1 nav aid rule.
200 and a half.
Nope. 1 nav aid rule.
Oh, I'm sorry. 400 and a half. Sorry. 401. I'm sorry.
401.
My mouth is fast in my brain.
So that makes it the 700
And 2.
miles.
So.
Good. Is everybody good with that? Everybody feel like they can answer those problems or answer those questions?
Yeah.
You just said with the, what was the quote they're using, the ILS, but was it the CL that was out, or?
Yeah, CL, center line lights.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Is everybody feeling okay? Anybody feel shaky?
The 1 nav aid, 2 nav aid is just for alternate minimums, right?
Yes. The only time that we ever applied the 1 nav aid, 2 nav aid rule is when we're trying to derive alternate minimums. Okay. Never try to apply this to your destination airport. Never try to do this when you're trying to figure out if you're able to go, unless you're trying to figure out whether or not an alternate is legal. That's the only time we use this. Okay? Does everybody feel good?
Yeah.
Okay. One more.
For the moment.
Huh?
I said for the moment.
So, there's not a PIREP on this one. Trying to find you guys a PIREP to decode. So what's the difference between an urgent and a regular PIREP? How do we know the difference? What was that?
Is that what you wanted to know? Like the code, like the UA, UUA?
Yep, exactly. So urgent is UUA, urgent upper air PIREP, and a regular PIREP is just going to be UA. So just upper air. Okay. Let's see. I will just pull. See if there's any PIREPs for any of these locations here. Hey, there we go. That's even applicable to SkyWest. Probably a SkyWest aircraft. All right. Let's see. Rex, you want to take a stab at that one?
Grab my knife. This is a regular PIREP over ITH. The time is 2300 Zulu. Flight levels 400. The type of aircraft is CRJ 200. Skies are overcast at 400. With
read it as it is.
Okay, 400, the top 7,000.
Yep.
And RM,
Remark.
during climb, is that?
Uh-huh.
What is
Climb from.
I'm sorry?
Climb from.
runway 32.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
In Ithaca. Okay, good. So it's just a regular upper air PIREP over Ithaca. Time is 2300 Zulu, flight level 400, CRJ 200. Sky condition was overcast at the bottoms at 400, tops were at 7,000 feet. And he reported this during the climb from runway 32 in Ithaca. Good. All right, let's see. Jeff, why don't you do that one for us?
Okay, looks like a Pittsburgh upper air overcast let me slow down. I'm seeing this is over 40 miles southeast of Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
At 1 o'clock Zulu, flight level 10,000 foot. Type of aircraft was an Embraer 170. Turbulence continuous, moderate turbulence at 10,000 to 14,000 foot. And I'm not sure what the DURD is.
During descent.
During descent, okay. Thank you.
No problem. So if we see DURC, that's during climb. If we see DURD, that's during descent. Okay? So he encountered it from when he was descending from 14,000 feet all the way down to 10,000 feet. So that moderate turbulence bubble was about 4,000 feet thick. All right. Let's see. Andrea, do you want to take a stab at that one? You
Yeah.
can use Rexnet.
Yeah, I know. Is that Maryville? Or is that a report or just it? So we're over MBY. Time is 22:28, flight level 4,000. The type is aircraft C402. The sky conditions are unknown at 4,000, topping to 1,500. Remarks is from the ILS runway 24 approach. I don't know, COR.
Honestly, I don't know what the COR is, but read me that altitude again really quick.
400?
Yep.
Unknown at 400? Did I get going too fast?
No, so yeah, you were saying 4,000 on that.
Oh, okay. Just got going too fast.
Yep. So 400 feet, tops at 1,500 feet. Doesn't know what kind of clouds it is. He just knows that that's where the bottoms and tops were. All right. Let's see, Eric, you want to do that one?
It's an upper air reading over HYA. The time is 2330 Zulu. Flight level 300 feet. Type of aircraft is a B-02. The sky condition, the bases of the clouds are 300 feet.
Yep. Pretty simple though, huh?
Yep.
All right. So you can see some really weird acronyms at times. You know, just reading this one. You can see this weird acronym right here that you don't typically see. BLOW. Just make sense of it, right? His flight level was 8,000 feet. He's experiencing light turbulence. And something about 10,000 feet, right? So below. Just assume that that's below. So just make sense of things. Take a stab at them. Just guess sometimes. I mean, you're going to be, if you just think about it practically, kind of zoom out a little bit. Don't focus on the BLO and try to figure out what each letter means. Like zoom out and go, well, I see this is familiar pattern here. This is familiar right here. This isn't so familiar. And if you zoom out a little bit more, you go, oh yeah, flight level 8,000 feet. He was below 10,000 feet when he experienced that turbulence.
There is that COR, would that have been because it was approach? Could that have been approach corridor?
Honestly, I have no idea. Adam, do you know what that COR stands for right there? I want to say corrected, but I don't know.
Approach, yeah. Remark ILS runway 24 approach corrected. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I've never seen that in a PIREP.
Yeah. Some really weird acronyms because pilots are writing these. They'll just use something that, oh yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm going to shorthand it. Honestly, don't know. That could be approach corridor. It could be.
It's correction,
yeah.
According to Google.
Yeah, it could be correction. It might be saying that this PIREP has been corrected. I don't know. The pilot reported it and said COR at the end. That's all I know. Like ZSE, that's talking about air traffic control. That was the air traffic control reported it. Sometimes you just see some kind of weird things in there. So this one's over Seattle, 104 radial, 40 miles out. So Seattle VOR, 104 radial, 40 miles out. Time was 23:57. Flight level 12,000. Boeing 737-900. Turbulence, moderate chop. Remarks. Seattle Center reported it. They got a report from the pilot that he was experiencing that, and they're the ones that wrote the PIREP. So, sometimes you just see those weird things. As you get experience reading them, you'll be able to decipher the code a little bit better and understand, kind of dive in the head of a pilot. It's really scary in there, but kind of
terrifying.
Start understanding what they may be talking about. So anyways, but that pretty much covers the interview. One other thing they talk about in the interview, I know I had mentioned this to my classes, they're going to hand you a paper and there's going to be situations. They're going to give you like 5 different situations that they're going to say, these all hit your desk at the same time. How do you prioritize them? Remember that your number one priority is things in the air. Just prioritize them by safety, from a safety standpoint first. So always in the air first. What's on the ground can always wait. 100% of the time, that can wait. Even if we're coming up and we're going to be really late on sending a release out, that's okay. If there's a person passed out on an airplane and the captain's looking for somewhere to divert, you probably want to take care of that before you take care of some guy pissed off that he doesn't have a release yet. So remember that your priority is always in the air and then on the ground, okay? And that's pretty much everything I can remember from the interview.
Garrett?
Yeah.
The PIREPs, will that be a verbal, we'll be reading those out loud to someone?
Yeah.
Or
they're going to give you a sheet, and it's going to have a METAR. They're going to have like 5 METARs, 5 PIREPs, and 5 NOTAMs on there, and they're going to want you to read one from each. They're going to be like, read number 3, read number 4, read number 2, whatever. They'll tell you which ones they want you to read, and that's the one that you'll read for them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you remember, Andrea?
Nope.
Covered?
About like that. About that all of that, and then the thing with the scenarios. And again, anything in airline safety always. So you hit that nail on the head. The written, you got all the FARs.
Make sure you guys know, like, these are super easy answers to answer on the written part of it. Know your weather codes, like the type of precipitation, the description on the METARs. Super easy to memorize all of those. And they're, just bonus points on the quiz if you take the time to memorize them. So
yeah. And then like for a person who just asked, like, are you going to read it to a person? Take your time, read it to yourself, and then go.
Yep.
Like, don't just start it. Like, read it. Take your time.
The more fluent you sound when you read it, the more professional it sounds to them.
Yeah.
If you're starting and stopping a lot, it's gonna, I don't know, it raises questions in their mind. But if you kind of zoom out, like I said before, and read it, like Andrea is saying now, read it to yourself first, then read it to them. It's going to go a lot smoother for you.
I did have a visit with a recent graduate, he's a dispatcher now at SkyWest, and provided me with some additional information that they will also ask about fronts.
About what?
Fronts, weather fronts.
Oh, okay. They've never asked that before, I don't think.
Not me. Yeah, me. Not that I'm aware of.
So what kind of front is this?
Yeah, he's printed out a little prep sheet for me and said types of fronts, 4 different types: cold front, warm front, occluded, and stationary.
Okay.
And what they do.
Cool beans. Yeah, I was never asked that in my interview. On my practical, I was.
Yeah. Yeah. And then sometimes they'll just, like how you had the charts pulled up, they'll just ask like, oh, show us ILS minimums. Does that make sense? On the chart, they'll put a chart and say, oh, ask, where's your ILS minimum for type D? And you'll have the chart in front of you.
Yeah. So just know your chart. Be comfortable answering those questions. Take your time on the quiz. Don't rush the quiz unless you're Carrie and you are a Superman and can blow through an ADX in 30 minutes.
Whoa!
Other than that, just take your time. Move through it slow, methodical.
Carrie's a stud.
What was that?
No question, Carrie's a stud.
All right, well, I'll turn over some time to Adam to go over what you go over.
It's about time. No, I think that you covered most of the stuff. I think the biggest thing that, and the feedback that because I talked to Bill usually a couple of times, but in between our classes that we run and their hiring classes, and I always talk to him usually within a week or two after that they do interviews, just to kind of get an idea of how the people from our class do, and what we need to work on as far as what we teach and things like that. But the biggest things that, that they want to see, if you just kind of keep this in your head, and I know everything that Garrett's covered is really good, and that is the stuff that they want to see, and that is the stuff that they're going to be asking. The biggest thing is, to whatever the greatest extent possible, is just try and be relaxed in there. I think, everyone kind of knows it's easier said than done to be all relaxed and, everything in an interview. They're always nerve-wracking no matter what. But do whatever you can to relax. They're not in there, like a lot of people always like to look at interviewee or interviewers as like wolves and things like that, like they're trying to get you, they're trying to catch you, they're trying to make you slip up, and that's not the case with these guys. They're very friendly, they want to see you do well, and more than anything, like, they don't expect you to know everything. They know that you're coming right out of school. They know that you don't know everything in the dispatch world. If there's something that you don't remember, let's say it's even something that you learned, that you even studied and prepared for, but for whatever reason you're sitting there and you're just having a brain fart and you can't remember it in that moment, but any other time you would remember it, the best thing that they want to hear you say is that you can't remember. The worst thing you can possibly say is making something up. That's a huge red flag for them. I'm not necessarily saying anybody would do that, but sometimes it's kind of just human nature, and depending on the personality of every individual person, when they don't know something, they feel like it's worse to say that they don't know or that they can't remember, rather than taking a stab and just making something up or whatever. They just want to hear, like, they know you're not going to remember everything. And nobody ever does remember everything, especially with all the stuff that you guys have been looking at. But the thing is they would rather just hear you say that you're just having a brain fart and you can't remember it in that moment. But sometimes they'll even give you a little bit of help too. So, but whatever you do, if there's an acronym or something, or you're reading a METAR or a PIREP and you come across an acronym that you don't remember, whatever you do, don't just press on and make something up and keep reading. Like they want you to try and get through the whole thing. The other thing is that what they always say is, if you come across something that you don't know, just say, don't sit there and try and, like I said, don't sit there and try to invent what it is or recreate the acronym or make something up, but just say, I don't remember what that is. But they also, a lot of people for some reason stop at that moment, and then they don't continue reading. They still want you to continue reading the rest of the PIREP, the rest of the METAR, whatever it is. If you get to a part that you don't know, don't, like, tell them that you may not know that certain thing, but then continue reading. Go read every possible thing that you can in the entire METAR, in the entire PIREP. After every interview session that they do, they always say that once somebody gets to a word that they don't know, they just stop reading completely and don't finish the METAR. So just remember, it's okay to not know everything. Just say you don't know it and move on. Continue reading. Let's see. It's also okay to ask questions too. They constantly tell me that people don't ask questions, but they want to reiterate to everybody, as part of feeling comfortable and not feeling nervous, is feel free to ask them questions. One very important thing to remember about dispatch is that when you actually have your license and when you're in there working as a dispatcher, they want you. The thing is, and as you've already learned in the last 8 weeks, it's an incredible amount of information and knowledge that you have to retain and remember. And you don't always remember everything. That goes for the interview process. That goes for even 10 years down the road when you've been dispatching for years and years, you're just not going to remember everything. They want you to ask questions. They want you to ask them questions in the interview, because that shows them that later on as a dispatcher, you're going to be willing to ask questions to the people sitting around you. And there's always things you just, on that particular day, you don't remember something, and they don't want you to just sit there and wonder and guess. They just want you to ask. And that's kind of what I'm getting at with the METARs and the PIREPs and things like that when you're reading through them. If you don't remember what it is, don't make something up, and don't sit there and guess. You just ask them, tell them you don't remember, and ask them what it is, and then continue reading. That's really big for them. It may sound kind of small and minute, like from the outside looking in, but they actually put a lot of weight into little things like that. So when you're in the interview, just remember that they want to see your willingness to say you don't know, and how quickly you will say you don't know, and then ask for help and ask questions. So that like I said, that's really big for them, because it shows them that you're willing to do that later on as a dispatcher. Because later on, if you have something important coming up, like I said, they don't want you sitting there guessing. In a real life dispatch scenario, they don't want you guessing, and they don't want you just making something up. They want you to ask people and use the resources. You've got 100 people in that room that can help. And it's also going to be a situation where later on you're going to help somebody as well. So that's really what they want to see. Let's see. I think you covered pretty much everything that I can think of. I know that's pretty much everything you're going to see. But yeah, biggest thing is just kind of like what I just said. Just try and be relaxed. Use them as resources. Don't guess. Don't make stuff up. And be willing to say that you don't know something. Yeah, that's really all I have. But I think that if you kind of go in there with that approach, that you'll all do well.
So, from what I understand, it's going to be 10 to 15 people that they're looking for this time. I'm not sure what number they nailed down, but everybody go in there with the attitude you're going to do great. Don't be afraid, like Adam said, to ask a question or get clarification on something. That's fine. Yeah. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to the point where you lock up. That's a bad thing. Don't lock up.
They really do use these interviews as a means of figuring out how you would be out on the floor in a pressure situation, because they know that the interview is a pressure situation, and they do give you credit in a way. Like they don't hold you hostage to the fact that you're not an experienced dispatcher and things like that. So they do give you a lot of leeway, knowing that you just came out of class. But at the same time, pressure situations are pressure situations, whether they're an interview or a real life scenario. And the way you handle the interview and handle yourself in the interview is really what they're looking for. That's what they don't care if you don't know something. They just want to hear you say that you don't know it, or that you're having trouble remembering it, because that's just how interviews go. You sit there and prepare, and not everything's going to be right at the forefront of your mind when you're sitting there being asked questions. So just be calm, ask them questions, use them as a resource, and don't, if you forget something, like I said, don't sit there and waste a lot of time trying to guess what it is or make up something. I can't stress that enough. That's really a red flag for them. So if it's something that you just totally don't remember, if they can tell if you need just a little nudge, they can tell if you're right there, like about to get it, and just like remembering or missing a little piece, sometimes they'll give that to you. But if you're just flat out, not remembering something at all, don't waste your time guessing and stuff like that. Just say, I'm having a brain fart on what that is, and ask them what it is, and then continue on. Just get it behind you as quick as possible. That's the way to score the most amount of points with them. So that's pretty much all I have. So I can't really think of much more. But yeah, you guys should be well prepared, and hopefully you guys have a big advantage going into it. And wish everybody a lot of luck. But coming out of this class, they do. It's usually, if they're hiring 10 to 15 people, that usually means for us that that they hire usually 50 to 60% of the people in their classes are from our school. So if they're looking for 10 to 15, that would mean that as many as, well, potentially all of you guys, because I think there's 7 or 8 of you guys that are licensed and ready to go. So good numbers there.
You guys have any questions for us?
Are we expected to know the airport codes?
No.
Okay.
You learn that week 1 of new hire training.
Well, you start.
I'd just like to say thank you to you, Garrett, to you, Adam, for the great experience.
Yeah.
You probably speak for everybody in this class. So.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for giving us the opportunity. I'm usually a lot more involved in each of our classes, so I kind of apologize to you guys that I wasn't able to be more involved. It's just that the timing of this class coincided so poorly with my FAA training and having to be in Oklahoma City, but typically I'm a lot more involved in the teaching and then especially in the in-class portion. But in order to get you guys done in time for these interviews, we had to obviously run it when we did, and there was no way I was going to be able to make it out there. So hoping that everything on your guys' side went good, and once again, kind of apologize for not being as involved, but I think you guys got a pretty good teacher in Garrett and some of the other people that were helping out, Jordan and Vaughn and Derek. They're all great and have done very well. So,
well, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and end this out.